How's it going, everybody? In this video we're going to go through the network configuration inside of VMware Workstation to get everything we need laid out and to get all the ESXi hosts squared away where we need them to be and all that good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and jump out of the way and we're going to dive right into the configuration. So I'm going to go ahead up here to edit and then virtual network editor. I will give that a moment to load. Once it loads, you'll see that we already have a bunch of VM nets already laid out, and we're going to be using VMnet 1, as you can see right here. It is a host-only VMnet, so it's only going to allow communication with inside of VMware Workstation and not externally. I'm going to click on OK there. And one of the things that we're going to have to do as we get into this configuration is we're going to click on ESXi host 1. And if you look down here in the lower right hand corner of the screen where my mouse is hovering over the time, if you look right here, we only have one network adapter. And if you highlight over that, it says network adapter bridged automatic. That basically means that currently we only have one physical adapter mapped to this ESXi host. And we need to go in and add at least one adapter in order to allow the communication that we need. So a very simple way of doing this would be to power down the ESXi host and then associate an adapter. So there are ways to do this while the VM is still running, but the problem is then there's additional steps that have to be taken in order to maintain the legitimacy of the VM install, because you can accidentally corrupt a VM if you don't do things correctly. So what I'm going to go do is I'm actually going to power down all the virtual machines, all the ESXi hosts at one time. I'm going to right click here and click on manage and then go to power and go to power off. So this would be like if the power was literally pulled out from the back of this host. Not exactly the greatest way to handle it, but I wanted to give you an example of what that would look like. Do that a few more times. Now I'm also going to show you how to power down gracefully. So we're going to click on this one here. We're going to come in here, and if you look in the lower right hand corner of the screen, you see where it says shut down restart with F12. I'm going to press F12. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to authenticate. And one of the things it says is F2 is shut down, F11 is restart. We're going to say F2 to shut down. That's pretty much it. That's all there really is to it. So I'm going to go ahead and continue moving forward. Power off. Same thing with these guys here. Give that a moment to do its thing. Power and power off. And power and power off. Excellent. So we have all of our VMs powered off now. We're going to wait for 6.5 and I'll be right back. Alright, so all of our ESXi hosts have been powered off, which is what we want to have. Now I'm going to start at the top here and I'm going to simply click on edit virtual machine settings, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on add, and then it's going to be network adapter and finish. Now that automatically will inherit the NAT capability, but if I want to change that, I would click on custom, and then from the drop down box I'm going to select VMnet 1. That's it. Click on OK, and then it's basically a wash, rinse, and repeat for the other 5 hosts. So click on here, virtual machine settings, add a network adapter, finish, and then select VMnet 1, and there you go. So I'm not going to make you watch me do all 6 of them. I'm actually going to pause briefly while I go through and take care of the rest. Alright, all of the hosts now have a second adapter, and if you click on each one, you can see right here where it says custom VMnet 1. If you go down the line, you can see the same thing applied to each one, which is what we want to see. So now it's just a matter of turning all of these hosts back on and getting them all squared away. So I'm actually going to just do that. I'm going to work my way up the line and power all these guys back on. It will take a couple of minutes for them to all boot, but in the meantime, once they're all booted and they're ready to go, we'll be ready to start the next process, which is, this is pretty much the end of the video. There's really not a whole lot more for me to show you in terms of the VMs coming online. So, but I'll pause, and what I want to do is I'm actually going to show you how to get that connectivity inside of the ESXi host itself, how to get that squared away. So I'll wait till all the hosts are back up and running, and ready to go, and then I'll show you how to do the actual configuration internally. Alright, all of our hosts are back online, and we can tell that there was, well, at some point there was a lot of CPU going on, but right now the CPU has settled back down. So we're going to go actually click on Windows 10 64, and we're going to click on Cancel. No. And so we're going to go ahead and log into this guy. And that's going to allow us to log into one of the 6.0 hosts. And what we're going to go do is take a look at the configuration, and we're going to go and create a new vSwitch and all that type of stuff, set the networking up on all the hosts. So I'll show you how to do that on both ESXi 6 and 6.5, because once we do it in 6.5, it's easy to do in 6.7. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to go to the configuration tab, and on the network adapters, we should have a second adapter, which we do. And if we come down to networking, we're going to have just the VMNIC here. If we were to go to properties, and then we click on network adapters, where VMNIC 0 has been mapped to this particular vSwitch. That's fine. That'll work all day long. Now, in this situation here, we could just go ahead and say, you know what? We can add another adapter, and that would be fine. So you could provide 2 physical adapters to one vSwitch, and that would provide physical redundancy for that vSwitch. But we don't have a way of tagging the traffic to keep it separate from a virtual machine perspective. So that means when we go to configure all of the port groups that we have here, so you have this virtual machine port group here, the VM network, that's VLAN 1 because there's no VLAN ID. But if we were to create another port group, we'd have to give it some sort of VLAN ID to provide separation logically from this port group to some other port group. Well, we don't have to do that if we go create ourselves a new vSwitch. So that's actually what we're going to go ahead and do. So I'm going to go ahead and knock that process out right now. I'm going to click on Close. I'm going to click on Add Networking. And we're going to say Add Virtual Machine Network. So basically just add an access port. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new vSwitch, and we're going to grab VMNIC 1. We're going to click Next, and then we're going to call this right here, we're going to call this Data. And you'll notice the VLAN ID is set to 0 because we don't want to be tagging the traffic as the traffic leaves to go out to the rest of the network. So even though it's going to be switched between the ESXi hosts inside of VMware Workstation, we don't really have any need to tag it. We're going to click on Next and then Finish. And so that creates that physical, that adapter. So the process of the other ones is identical. So I'm actually going to jump ahead to some of the other hosts real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up Google Chrome. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to log into this guy here. And I'll show you how to set this one up as well. Pretty straightforward stuff for the most part, but you definitely need to understand the process behind it. So we're going to come down here to networking, and then we are going to notice how that the setup here is you have vSwitch 0. If we were to go ahead and say add port group, we're going to create a port group, and then it asks us which vSwitch do you want to associate it to. Well, right now we only have the one vSwitch. So we actually need to click on Cancel first before we do anything. Click on Virtual Switches, and we're going to go to Add a Standard Virtual Switch. We're going to click on that, and it's going to add a new vSwitch, and then it's going to ask us which uplink we want to use. So we're going to use VMNIC 1, and it's detecting it as 10 gigs, but we obviously know that's not the case. So I'm going to come in here and type in Data, and I'm going to click on Add. And then that's going to add a new vSwitch with a new uplink. And then on this guy right here, this is the name of the vSwitch, right? So I can actually come in here and I can edit this. So again, this is the name of the switch, not the port group. You notice how right now the switch is created, but there's no port groups associated to it. So I'm going to edit settings. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to call this guy I might not be able to modify the name. That might be, let me go ahead and actually delete it real quick. and remove. Yes, let me go do this, just so we have separation. And so it's easier to identify. Add virtual switch, and we're going to come in here and type in data dash vSwitch, just so that there's some logical nomenclature to separate the traffic. So that's the data vSwitch. What I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to come into port groups, and then I'm going to add a port group, but then I need to say the port group is going to be data, and I'm going to choose data vSwitch and click on OK. There we go. So that's really all there is to it. So at that point we are squared away and operational. So the process continues on from there, and you just need to go in and repeat the process everywhere else. So I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to go ahead and log into the other host, get them configured, and then I'll bring you guys back in once we are all squared away. Okay, so we have all of our configurations completed now. If we look at ESXi host 2, we can see that we've added vSwitch 1 and the data port group to VMNIC 1. We're going to go ahead and take a look at Firefox, because for whatever reason, when you log into 6.5 hosts through Chrome, it doesn't like it, so I'm using Firefox for this connectivity. And you can see that I've added a data-vSwitch. It's associated to an uplink. It's got one port group associated to it, and that port group is data assigned to the data vSwitch, which is what we want it to be. And if we look at our Google Chrome devices, we can see that we have a vSwitch known as data vSwitch, and the port group we have data on the data vSwitch. So with that being said, we've completed all of our networking specific configurations in order to get all that stuff working. The next step we're going to be taking a look at in the following video is the local storage. So I'm going to walk you guys through some local storage where we want to upload ISO images to the local data store so that we can start deploying virtual machines. Now we're going to start off with local storage, and then on the following video we're going to deploy virtual machines. And then we're going to go through some specific videos on how to do, like, how do you turn IIS on, and do some stuff internally inside of the VMs inside of ESXi. And then we're going to circle back to remote storage, meaning we're going to have to power off all the servers again, add NICs to them so that they can be in other connections for storage and things like that. We're going to deploy a storage area network virtual machine that's going to allow us to provide the ESXi capability, and then we're going to bring all of our hosts back online, go through all the necessary configurations with that configuration for the storage and all that type of stuff, and the networking that goes along with that, and then upload ISO images to that data store. So it's going to be important to understand both sides, local and remote storage. They can be rather complicated topics to go over, but at the end of the day, once you understand the basics to it, it's actually not that difficult to do. So thanks so much for stopping by and hanging out with me in this video, and until next time guys, take it easy.